What's up, everyone? This is Focus episode number 3. It's just going to be a very short one. I talk about what to do or what I did in my particular case when either quitting or losing a job. So quitting or losing a job is not one of the easiest things to do, or it's definitely not one of the easiest things to deal with if it happens to you, if it's the case of losing a job as opposed to quitting a job or leaving a job. Especially if it's something you really want to do, if it's something you're really passionate about, it can be tough. I've only ever been in 2 situations where I've had to forcibly either leave a job or have lost a job. Any situations where you work your usual notice, you give a notice of resignation to be it your manager or the company boss, that's not really the sort of call for what I would call quitting a job, purely because generally if you're in that situation of leaving a job, be it amicably or otherwise, you probably have something else lined up already. What I'm focusing on today is what I did in situations where I didn't have another job lined up, where I literally just said either screw it all, or where the job I had or the company said to me, screw you, in not so many words. Now, it might be a bit weird, but both situations where I had it with either losing a job or quitting a job, it was with the same company. That's not something a lot of people can say. The first time round, it was me quitting the job, leaving my position on very short notice and with not much lined up to go to. It was especially hard because it was a job that I was quite passionate about. It was in the tech industry, and it's something that I've grown up working with, being educated in, and that's just where my passion has been. So I basically got to the point where over the space of about 6 months I had built up to being at loggerheads with the company boss. It all started with I finally had my 12-month review or appraisal as such after working there around 18 months, and fairly normal. I'd asked him for a pay rise or an increase in responsibilities, anything to help out more, to make my working life easier and to help the business grow, which is fair enough if you've been with a company for as long as 18 months especially. In the grand scheme of things, it may not sound like a long period of time, but given the movements I was making, I'd literally gone from 1 week I was not even touching on a certain technology or working with it, to the following week sort of being at the helm of dealing with a technology. I'm not going to go into detail as to what the technologies were that we worked with, but that's how drastic changes could be from be it week to week or month to month. So over the space of 18 months there was definitely a lot of growth, there was a lot of movement, and there was a lot that I was taking on board already, even from the level of project management, technical coordination if you like, as well as doing installations, handover and commissioning, and dealing with customers. So naturally you can see why I wanted to have a bit more involvement with the company, and obviously be remunerated for it respectively. So what happened was I handed my 1 month resignation to the company boss, who was also my line manager at the time, and I didn't have anything lined up to go to. I just had enough, basically. I was not getting any of the respect as such from him. I was still just going about doing my day-to-day work, even though I was taking on senior responsibilities as such, and not getting anything in return for it. I was still having to deal with the shit of being basically an apprentice. Not that we give apprentices shit, but just doing all the crap jobs, the stuff that you shouldn't need to apply a skilled person to. It's the kind of thing that you can literally hire anyone to do it with 5 minutes of instruction. So naturally I figured I'm going to leave the job and I will find something. It was only coincidental that that same weekend, so about 2 days later, I had been contacted by a friend of our family. He had recently started a company, completely different world, away from technology. I'm talking fresh fruit import and fresh produce import and logistics business, so completely different. But he given me an opportunity. Basically said to me, I've heard about the trouble you're having at the company you're with. I've got a position for you. I want you to be an operations manager for my fresh produce company. Now, instinctively, in the first breath, I said, no, that doesn't sound like me. I'm not going to do that. Never in a million years. I mean, it's working in an industry which I have zero interest in. But then I gave it a couple of hours consideration, and after mulling it over in my head for a while, I thought the best thing to do with this is to take on board the experience that this job can offer and then apply it to something else down the line. So I had a conversation with him and I said to him, look, I'll take on the job, but I want to be able to better my skills elsewhere part-time. That never quite happened like that, and that's a different story altogether. I got the experience of essentially running a company. So I was operations manager. I was essentially third in line in control, hierarchically speaking. So there were the two business partners. One of them was the finance guy. He paid all the bills, and the other one was basically international procurement director, whatever he wants to call himself. He was the one who was directly meeting with suppliers and customers to actually take care of business. From there on, I was taking care of orders and deliveries, so fruit, fresh produce even I should say, from other distributors, other countries, etc. I was driving out to other countries to go and inspect fruit. Yeah, completely different from the tech world, but at the same time, so I was basically managing the operations of this company. I was managing all the stock type stuff, so literally the day-to-day runnings, managing staff, hiring, firing, which is not as fun as it sounds. It's terrible, if anything, and I must have personally fired the best part of 10 or 12 people, and I was only working there for 6 months, so the turnaround's quick sometimes. It's crazy what happens. The experience paid off, because the next job I got was back in the technology sector, and the first thing that the director of the company where I was going for an interview for asked me was how I could apply the experience I've just attained to the new role, and it was basically managing a small team. So straight away, something that 6 months previously I didn't think I wanted to do, I didn't think I could use, suddenly now it was at the forefront of why I'm getting a new job. The first thing to do in that situation is don't dismiss a random job that's maybe outside of your field for what it is, because there's probably there very possibly is something positive that you can extract from it and use elsewhere in life. The second time I've been in a situation of either losing or quitting a job, so the second one was actually me losing the job. So after I'd gone out of the technology sector back into technology, I was with this other company now at that stage again for about 18 months, touching on 2 years, and the company owner of the company that I had quit from a couple of years previously had got in contact with me and said I could use someone like you on my team again, and he was initially very positive about the whole thing, and I thought, brilliant. It's an industry I enjoy working in, so I went and met with him, and we came to terms on what my new salary will be and what the basis of pay rises and such, and responsibilities and increase of responsibilities will be over time, and everything was perfect. So there I was, back into my dream job essentially. So I've been back at this company for the best part of 6 months or so, and we were just getting to build up a strong team of people doing all of the work efficiently. That's the key there, efficiently. No one was stepping on anyone's toes, there was no waiting on anyone else. All the tasks had been divided up properly, and it was getting to the point where we could, as teams of, or even as one person, or teams of 2 or 3, take a project from meeting with the client, submitting a quote, sending the invoice, getting the money in, ordering the equipment, arranging the time to go and install it, and then hand over the project and be done with it, without need for intervention from, call it senior management if you like. Everything was going really well, or at least seemingly for us and the rest of the staff, it was going really well. And then one day, a payday came and went, and the business owner said, with a smile on his face I might add, this was the one thing that pissed everyone off, I think, and not getting paid. So he said to us all, sorry, I can't pay you today, which was a shock to us, naturally, as it would be. Everyone's got bills coming out, so you need the money. You rely on payroll to keep the cash flow going month in, month out. We gave him the benefit of the doubt over the weekend, so it was Thursday, then the Friday was still business as normal. The weekend came and went, Monday came, and it was a no-show. Everyone was in the office, and the business owner was a no-show. He just didn't bother to show up. He eventually sent us a group email or group message saying that he'd been trying to secure more business to get money in to pay us all, which was bollocks, which is bullshit, it transpires. And then the following day he calls us all in for a meeting, which was basically 5 minutes of him struggling to contain his fucking smile and telling all of us that he's closing the company, no one's getting paid, and he's changing the locks as soon as we're out the door. That was strike 2 for me, so to speak, and left out on my arse, basically. But where I was talking about having built up this strong team of people, namely 2 people, we had a few conversations with each other in the coming 3 or 4 days afterwards, and we figured we can do this on our own. We naturally had a client base, because we had a mess to mop up from clients who have just been let down, who have paid money for projects, and then we had to go out and basically say to them, the money you've just paid for whatever equipment, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to legally pursue that money if you want to from the previous company, but anything that we can do to help will help. And we've been quite fortunate in that 2 of those clients have actually turned around and said, tell you what, I'll direct my business towards you and I want you to finish off the project. So we basically managed to get a new company up and running, literally hit the floor running, sprinting almost. From day 1 we were making positive contacts with people, and after about 2 weeks we were actually starting to get money in with very minimal outlay. The only outlay or payments we had to make as such were to get a website and some professional email addresses set up. That was it really. By the end of about the 2nd or 3rd month of doing that, 3 of us running our own company, I wouldn't say the profits were looking good compared to big businesses, but there was money there at least. We were able to at least pay ourselves a small amount so that we could at least keep the roof over our heads and eat. But not enough to quite go out and buy a brand new Porsche 911, so hopefully that'll be in the next couple or 3 years. A little tip on what to do when that situation arises where you either want to quit your job, or if you're about to lose a job knowingly or unknowingly. Best thing to do, I found, is speak to the people around you, speak to the people you work with, and see what their ideas are, especially if a company is, say, closing down, because you never know where you can build up partnerships with people that you already know you can work with and well. So that's definitely port of call number 1. Similarly, if you've got friends outside of work, speak to them, because there might be someone else out there who would like to go into business with you, or at least may even have an idea or something that you can join them on. So the best thing to do is just ask around and speak to people, which also covers my next point, is who to talk to. Literally colleagues, friends, of course, speak to family as well, because Your family are the people that you know best and know you best, hopefully in most cases anyway. Speak to them, see if they know anyone that they work with, or anyone that they know, or anyone in the extended family that they know may need some help, or want to start a new venture, or have a new idea, or just want to join anything. Basically, the idea is to just get the word out there, even if it's through the likes of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Just put a post on there so that anyone who reads what you have to say sees it and can then maybe get the ball rolling, because you never know what could happen. Opportunity could be knocking at any single door. You never know where, you never know when, so try every single door. Where do you go from here? With that, I mean the next steps. So say you've just quit your job, where do you go from there? You can look at that a few ways. On the likes of Instagram, Facebook, etc., there are a lot of people, even on YouTube as well, there are a lot of people who start one-man band agencies, and some of them are very successful. You know, whether it's you specializing in the one thing that you're good at, or if maybe you take on consulting people for the line of work that you've just come out of, you know, especially if you've got a passion for it, then definitely keep up with it. Stick to that, stick to what you know, stick to what you're good at, because that's where you can monetize. Basically, that's where you can bring in the money to survive and live. And similarly, with if you're losing a job, the same rules apply. If a company has suddenly just disappeared and closed its doors, you want to look at what you're good at, what you can do, where you do have contacts, and get in touch with them and offer your services. Maybe even, if need be, for the first few months, just act as a one-man band, asking for help from, be it friends, family, or previous colleagues, to help out with work if need be, especially if physical labour is involved. So yeah, as you can see from what happened to me, the first time quitting my job is something that I created myself, and I just threw myself out there, and I think I was just fortunate in that, similarly, through my family, speaking to friends of the family, passing the message on, it's the same thing as just you reaching out to, say, your parents and asking them if their friends need any help with their companies, etc. You know, making that first connection there, that's important as anything, because that could well be your next step, be it in a career or just in a new job. That about wraps it up really. So yeah, all the important points covered as such. So if you quit or lose a job, best thing to do is talk to those closest to you, concentrate on what you're good at, put the word out there that you're either looking for work, or you're looking to start your own company or agency work, whatever you want to call it, or even just a consultant. Consultancy is a good and lucrative job to get into if you're good at it, especially considering the fact that no manual labour is involved. It's literally just knowledge in your head, and if you can pass that on to someone else in a very good way, then yeah, you can make money from that. You'll see a lot of business coaches that offer their services through Instagram especially, and some of them are very good. They charge between, be it £50 or $50, wherever you are, per hour. Some charge as little as, say, 100 or 200 per day even, or would run like a whole day session with you and a couple of colleagues or friends or whatever. But then there are some who are charging as much as £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 or dollars for a class or a session, which could last 2 hours, or it could be 2 days, or it could even be a week. Still, if you're managing to pull in, say, £1,000 or dollars per person per session per week, you know, if you can get just 2 people in the door per week, that quickly adds up. You know, even if you do it once a month, if you just want to, you know, get something that at least pays the bills. If you're good at manual labour or any sort of skilled labour, don't ignore it, embrace it, because you might well find a freelance job. There are tons of websites out there looking for people with specific manual labour skills or intricate skills, so it's just a case of finding them and putting yourself out there. So that wraps up Focus episode 3. I will catch up with you in the next episode.